Hello, thank you and welcome. Thank you to Dr. Akili for coming.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to have you here. So this is another one of our shows together, which doesn't really have a name, but we've done so many. I feel like it should be like a little joint, something. But
That means we're gonna have to come up with something, huh?
we're gonna have to come up with something,
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But today's topic, I am really excited to talk to you about. And before we even get started, I know this might sound a little bit weird because we've done so many shows, but I do want you to kind of introduce yourself and just say, who you are, little background, nothing major. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think most people already know me, like you say, that are interested in our shows. But to keep it brief, I am a traditionally trained family medicine physician who had a transformation in his viewpoint and his scope of thinking about medicine um, from the book How to Eat to Live. And then from there, I started to branch into just any and all aspects of healing from around the world that will help our people learn, be empowered, and then improve their own health on their own health or healing journey. Health meaning that you're not sick, you don't have any problems, and you want to maintain that. And then, of course, if you have any type of problems, to have a meaningful focus that you control, and your journey will wind up being what it is that you desire. And so that is it in brief. And I'll probably mention some things while we're talking about what we're talking about today, because they are
Wow.
connected. Because
They are.
yeah, when I tell my story about about being traditionally trained and then changing, in my opinion, today's show, that's my biggest point. Because in both of these instances that we will be discussing, and I'm sure Sister Taylor might even have some surprises for me. She usually does. But in the two things that we discussed that we were going to talk about today, the biggest factor is self awareness, self education, and then staying in
Mm.
control. And that is what I did in my career. I was trained. I had a lot of propaganda that made me think one way. I had to have self awareness, and that awareness was I wasn't making a difference in people's lives like I wanted to.
Mm.
Self educated myself, and then I stayed in control. I do not allow anybody to impress upon me that what it is that I have learned, what it is that I've seen, what it is that I've experienced, and what I can absolutely stand on with 10 toes. I don't allow anybody to deter me from keeping that focus. That's it
You know
for
what?
me.
This is why I needed to hear that first because a lot of people actually ask me like, "Oh, like who is he?" And I just be wanting to say like Dr. Akili. Like the name should say enough. Like you don't already know who he is. I don't know what you've been doing, but okay. That's one of the reasons why I wanted you to say that. And then another reason why I wanted you to say that is because of the topic that we're going to be talking about tonight is maternal mortality, and I feel like the biggest scene for these issues is the hospital. So I just want to give them that little background that, I've never worked in a hospital before besides like a couple of doula clients, but either way, we're here. And then I want to ask you something. You said traditionally trained, and I just need you to like kind of clarify what you mean by that because a lot of people will call themselves traditional medicine or traditional midwives, and we use this word a lot, but what did you mean by it?
Well, I mean, what everybody considers. Like, sometimes I will literally have people reach out to me or they talk to me when I'm in their presence, and they'll ask me things like, did you go to the same type of school that the doctor at the urgent care center, the emergency care center, or the person I saw in the hospital? Yes. And
Yeah.
that's what I mean by traditional. All these regular doctors that you see around, that's the training that I had. So people don't get confused, right? Because a lot of times when people say I am a holistic physician or I'm a naturopathic doctor, these are different types of educational um, journeys. I'll use that word. Um, and they're not the same. All of these have a foundation that is similar, but the way they go about it is different. But the traditional person that you see in traditional places that you go is the training that I had. And it's important, I think, for people to know that, because what you hear coming out of my mouth today, and if you go back and look at anything else that I've done in the past, you will not hear the same type of verbiage. You won't hear the same type of expression. You won't see the same passion when you listen to these other physicians that are in the traditional sense. So that's what I meant. Did I answer the question?
Yes, sir. Most definitely did. Okay, so Dr. Akili, you sent me probably like a week or two ago this article. I don't want to say her name wrong. Let me look first. I should have already known. There's a couple of things. Oh, Miss April Valentine. Love that name. Okay, so Miss April Valentine, if you guys have already heard about her, a lot of things actually sparked this conversation between me and Dr. Akili a lot. So we talk about this a lot, like just off camera, just be talking about this mess that be going on. But when you sent me that, I always try to steer away from like certain videos and information, and sometimes I avoid stuff like that, just watching it. But I know that I need the information too. So I started watching the video. I said all that to say I started watching the video, but we're going to finish watching it now. Okay. So because I don't want to traumatize myself twice, basically.
Can I preface it with one thing based on what you just said?
Yes.
I want everybody to think about, as we're about to go into this video, as Sister Taylor mentioned, you know, when I drive on the highway, a lot of times the accident happened on the opposite side of the freeway, but my side of the freeway is backed up. That makes absolutely no sense to me, except the fact that we live in a society that likes to sensationalize things, right? So literally people are on your side, they're slowing down so they can pull out their camera or just see, being nosy, whatever it is, right? And so I just wanted to preface our talk today with what you said, because I'm the same way. I am not a mainstream person at all. I'm not politically correct. I'm nothing that typically people expect from a physician, right? I am going to be what God made me, and I'm going to try to use that to help anybody that's willing to listen. And I wanted to say that because Sister Taylor and I have had these discussions before. If you go to my IG page, my Facebook page, you don't see sensationalism. I'm not trying to sensationalize everything that hits the news and everything that's a headline. I'm not that man. And I don't want to be that person, because I think that has an end to it. That has a brick wall or a cliff that you're going to fall off. But when what you do is based in substance, what you do is based in a foundation that people can go back and look at your track record and see that you're willing and your desire is to help people improve, then that's why sometimes we have to take a headline and we have to talk about it like we do today. But I am far away from, and pray that I never get into that, right? Doing things for a like, doing things for how many people follow you. I don't really give a damn how many people follow me. It could be 5. If I make a difference in them 5 people's lives, I think I am making a bigger impact than the people that have millions of views, millions of viewers, and they don't make an impression in people's lives. Well, let me take that back. They make an impression in people's lives, but they don't make an impact in people's lives. And there's a huge difference.
That's a big difference. That's a big difference. And honestly, with this social media world we live in right now, yeah, that's a big difference. Okay, so let me share my screen really quick, and then we can talk about this situation. Let me see. Can you see it, Dr. Akili? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna start us off with the video. Let's see if I can start it from the beginning. Okay, do you know how to work this, girl? Okay, there we go.
Will not have any complications. I will have a good birthing experience.
April Valentine said these affirmations every single day. She thought she would live to see her first child, Anaya, born. But April didn't make it out of the maternity ward at Centinela Hospital in Inglewood, California.
April Valentine was 31 years old.
Now, following months of protest, that ward is set to close October 25th, 2023.
Oh, no.
Valentine's family filed a lawsuit on Tuesday, alleging in part wrongful death and professional negligence with demand for a jury trial. The Valentine family filed a complaint with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, alleging systemic and racist practices and seeking answers regarding the circumstances of her death.
We are here to amplify the story of April Valentine.
An initial inspection of Valentine's incident found Centinela failed to prevent the deficiencies that caused or are likely to cause serious injury or death. The LA County coroner ruled her cause of death on January 10th, 2023, a blood clot, which the hospital failed to assess for and intervene in.
Come on, my little jitterbug.
Hold on just 1 second. Okay, so do you want to go first, Dr. Akili?
No, man.
I should always offer. Okay, so there's a couple of things. The first thing is they started off with the affirmations in the beginning of the video. And for me, I started as a doula, was really pushing the affirmation thing, and I'm still a believer in affirmations just on a regular. But I think that the video itself, it starts you off just putting people in a state of fear. That's how I feel about the video. It's putting us in a state of fear because we're starting off with affirmations. We're doing things that are healthy. She thought she would make it home. And it just is keeping us in that state where other pregnant women could be watching this and just be scared. And that affects your birth more than the affirmation do.
Yes.
The other thing I was looking at is the protesting. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot stand protesting more than anything in the world. I just cannot stand it. It's a call for justice, but it's a call for justice, but by protesting, by holding up signs, like, is that how we get the justice? And then the last thing I want to hear from you is about the blood clot thing. I guess we got to finish the video to get more information, but how is that something that we can miss? And what did they mean by that?
Well, excellent points, because those were all my considerations when I first watched the video. Number one, I'm going to use an analogy, right? I'm sure you and I and everybody that's listening can walk, right? So if we had to wake up in the morning and say affirmations, I'm going to walk and I'm not going to trip and fall. I'm going to walk and I'm not going to stub my toe. I'm going to walk and I'm not going to twist my ankle on this pothole in the middle of the street, right? These are things that if we're walking, they are so common that we wouldn't even see why it's a need to make affirmations. And that is the point that I think is most profound, that when you open up a story, and this Black woman had to write affirmations on her walls of her house to keep her in a state of mind of peace, in a journey that Allah made you for. Your body is absolutely the perfect avenue for a beautiful child of God to come through. But yet you have to say affirmations with something that you were blessed with the capability of doing. Something is wrong in a society where a woman has to do that. That's number one. Right now, I'm from Southern California, so I know about this hospital. This hospital is like many hospitals in the Black neighborhoods that don't typically have good track records. But I must defend Black doctors to some degree, because many times in my experience in those type of hospitals, people have a tendency not to come until they're in horrible shape, and they expect us to do miracles.
Yes.
Right? Typically, they pass right by the doctors, the Black hospitals, so-called Black hospitals, right? And they go to all the white establishments. But then if you're so bad that you don't think you're going to make it, then you put your horrific situation on us and then blame us because you didn't make it. So I'm not saying that's true all the time, but I'm saying in my experience, I've seen that happen. Nashville, Houston, Southern California. And so I wanted to mention that. Now, the other part that they mentioned in the article and on the little clip was that the family said that there were racist practices. The hospital responds with, we have a diverse group of people in the hospital. We don't think racism is a reality. That's the biggest lie that's ever been told because we continue to think that a black-skinned person, a brown-skinned person, yellow, whatever they are, brown, anything in between, that they come from these institutions and their minds aren't white people. Their minds are white people. They think like them, they talk like them, they act like them, they practice medicine, and they treat black people like white people. That's just a reality. I've been in this field almost 30 years, and it is the truth, okay? So anytime you hear a hospital make a comment like that, it's because they're not looking at things in what it really is. It doesn't make a difference if the whole staff is black.
Yeah.
We come from an institution that trains us to look at black people in the way that the institution looks at black people. And if you don't show real love, there's no way that a black person could say it was racist if you show them love like a black person should to another. That wouldn't even show up. And then the last aspect is the adequacy of the physician. And unfortunately, that's what we have to continue to talk about. If your perspective of a black woman that walks in the hospital, oh, she about to have an attitude, oh, this nigga this, or this be that, or whatever goes in people's minds, then at the end of the day, the reality is that this person isn't using their total skill set. You won't give your all to a person that you think negatively of. Unless you walk in the room and you look at a person, you say, God bless me to be here for that person. So when I walk in this room, it doesn't make a difference what they look like, their color, their size, their gender, and these days, their sexual preference. That doesn't matter when I walk in the room. The only thing that matters is that I pay attention, gather the information that I need, and treat you with the best of my ability to make sure that you make it to the better place of where you are, right? Because it doesn't mean that you're always going to be able to take a person from a life-threatening situation and they're good by the end of the night. They're good by tomorrow. No, sometimes you take a life-threatening situation. You say, all right, we got to do something to make sure they're better by the morning. We have to do something to make sure they're alive in 12 hours. And then at the end of that, you get the point where, okay, now we're looking at another day. Now we're looking at improving them a little more. But if people aren't focused like that, then you can miss things. There should be no reason why any physician, doula, midwife, OBGYN, it doesn't make a difference. If somebody is involved in a woman's care who is pregnant, there's some things that are automatic. And automatically we should be thinking about there's a possibility of a blood clot. There's a possibility of a blood pressure issue. There's a possibility if she's overweight and has diabetes that this child is going to be large. There could be some issues with delivering. There could be issues with bleeding. You see what I'm saying? Some things come automatic when you have training. If you put that person in the proper perspective in your mind. And in my viewpoint, that's what I always say. It doesn't make a difference who the provider is. It makes a difference how that provider interacts with the person that tells you whether they're really for this person or not. And that's what we're missing. We're missing a whole lot of love, compassion, and understanding that you as a physician have a God's gift to take care of that person, not judge them, not put them in a category in your damn head. Treat that person like you would want somebody to treat your mama, your grandmama, your daddy, your uncle, your aunts. And if that's not the way you walk in the room, you probably should get the hell up out of there and go do something else until you get your life right or change careers, because this is the outcome of people that don't like who they take care of or hate who they take care of.
That part, I feel like you jumped ahead a little bit because we didn't even finish the video.
That was all what I got up to that point. Let's go.
Okay. Man, that was a lot. Okay.
Valentine's partner, Nija Robertson, and her sister, Keisha Cordova, were at Centinela during the labor. They allege Valentine's doctor, Gwen Allen, did not arrive to the hospital for hours.
They said, well, we can't call the doctor. The doctor will cuss us out. The doctor don't like us calling her.
A formal inspection saying the hospital repeatedly failed to notify the physician as Valentine's vitals became abnormal. They allege as the hours went on, nurses were inattentive, turned her doula away despite previously greenlighting it, and pressured Valentine, who wanted a natural birth, to get an epidural. Soon after, they allege Valentine's legs began swelling and she threw up. Valentine's partner and sister say eventually April stopped breathing, but nurses did not perform CPR, so Robertson did. According to the inspection, minutes later, doctors intervened with CPR, but April died. Their baby delivered by crash C-section, unresponsive but alive. Beyond Valentine and the maternity ward, an ongoing NBC investigation found substantive instances where Sentinella failed to keep records and notify physicians and family about patient pain and conditions. Following a public information request, NBC obtained statements of deficiencies and plans of correction, outlining incidents at Sentinella, including failing to notify family following a drastic change in patient condition, ongoing reports of rodent activity in the hospital due to an unfixed broken door that was later fixed, and, in one case, patient death as a result of failing to ensure proper medical care.
Okay, so yes, like Shay Bay said, hold on. Wait. So before I even say anything, I just want to go back to something you said earlier about like responsibility. We come to people sometimes once we've hit rock bottom. We wait till rock bottom to start thinking about like health choices, healthier choices, eating better, maybe exercising more, things like that. Like we wait until we're so far gone. And I've done this before multiple times actually. So we wait and then we want the other person, most likely the doctor, to perform a miracle on us. So responsibility is like this thing that just keeps, this word that just keeps coming back into my head. It just keeps coming back. Like, whose responsibility is it really? Are we really just going to sit here and point the finger and not take control of anything, any options that we have in our life? A rodent problem is probably basically like an automatic no for me for the hospital. Right. And that's one of the things that stuck out to me the most out of what we just seen. What? I cannot give birth to my baby here. And the other thing that I thought of is when they turn the doula away, because I hear about this a lot. It seems to me like an act of guilt, kind of like, you know, something is going on, so you just don't want any witnesses. It's like when they told us that we can't record our own births, and it's really simply just that, because we don't want anything recorded, we don't want witnesses. Man, it's ridiculous. That was just a lot.
Yeah, and if you add that the doctor will curse us out if we call them, it's because once you call them, now they're liable, right? So everything that we just listened to after you restarted the video: lack of care, lack of responsibility, and then covering up my BS or covering up our BS. That's all it is, right? At the end of the day, that equals lack of care, lack of concern, lack of the ability to share your gift, right? Yeah. So you want the accolades, you want people to walk around and call you doctor, but you know, we're talking about a field when we specifically get into the taking care of a pregnant woman, where people are making it, as you and I talked about when we talked about Tori Bowie. Yeah. The lady said, I diagnosed my patient with pregnancy. See, that mentality right there
make it make sense.
Says so much, right? And then when you look at it that way, then yes, there is an attitude towards Black women, especially if a Black woman comes into the L&D department and she's overweight. There's an automatic perception. You didn't give her a chance. You didn't even watch her open your mouth, right? Because most of the time they're coming in distress or they're coming in labor. So you already have marked this woman.
Wow.
And when you mark a person, when you see them at first, you can't take it all the way where it needs. You can't give that person your all. You've already chopped him down in your mind. And that's the problem. And as long as we as Black people don't see it, right? I was in this text group chat with some of my fraternity brothers, and somebody sent a video of a white guy in our fraternity. I said, I put the throw up emoji like you did in my post today, right? And so everybody kind of was like, well, why would you have a problem with it? Because some things are our legacy. Some things should be near and dear to us, and other people shouldn't have access to it. The Black fraternities and sororities in America were produced because Black people were getting killed just wanting to get a higher education. They were trying to get in institutions around this country, and they were wind up being lynched. So Black people had to come together and produce these type of sororities and fraternities to protect each other, to have people to walk to the library, to walk back and forth from class, to be on the campuses just to try to get an education so you wouldn't wind up getting killed. So that to me is a legacy that came out of the hatred of that time. Here we're dealing with a legacy of Black people walking into institutions, and we haven't taken in consideration Valentine, why do you believe you have to make affirmations in order to have a successful birth? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if we could have those type of conversations with some of these women, they would have to realize, and I know this is an uncomfortable place for a lot of Black people, but if you walk into a birthing center and you're 5'2" and you weigh 300 pounds, that's your responsibility. You can't put that on somebody else, that you're 5 feet tall and you weigh 300 pounds. When you walk into the labor and delivery room and those people look at you and automatically they're already negative, can you blame them, really? If nobody has ever been in a room with a 300-pound woman, I have. I've seen how difficult it is to do a C-section on a 250, 195-pound woman who's 5'3". And literally, I've seen women 5'7", 5'8", 300 pounds having to go through a C-section.
Wow.
And you have people that have to literally get on the table in order to produce the room to get this baby out. So that's a difficulty factor. If a person doesn't have enough self-esteem within themselves, if a person hasn't connected with that God gave them a gift and they look at that experience as a burden, then the next woman that comes in, that's why their mind goes negative. So there's a responsibility on both sides. If you are a pregnant woman, there are things that you should do to make sure that your health is in the best capability. There should be no lifestyle plan to produce eclampsia, to produce gestational diabetes. You see what I'm saying? And I know nobody goes into it with that thought, but the reality is that the typical Black woman is, and let me take that back, that's not the correct statement. I will say that the statistics say that Black women have a higher propensity for eclampsia. I think it's Black and brown women, they're close.
Yeah.
But gestational diabetes, of course, the complications that come with fibroids, the complications that come with having sickle cell, those things, when a Black woman comes in the room, sometimes that's the first thing that people think, all the possibilities of things going wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a responsibility not only on the practitioner, that's a responsibility on the Black woman before she gets pregnant. But unfortunately, we have a system that doesn't concentrate on giving people the power to take care of their lives. And we have to also admit that there's a lot of ignorance in our people when it comes to how to take care of themselves.
Ooh.
So if you can't take care of yourself when you're not pregnant, the possibilities are going to be much worse once you get pregnant. We're not going to stop having sex because we're not going to stop having a good time. But we have to start understanding that when you lay down with a man or lay down with a woman, the possibility is that you could wind up here if you're ignorant. That's the point that we got to make. Imagine, right? The way we as black men do. Damn, she fine as hell, man. Up in the club or somewhere looking at black women from that perspective, right? The silly perspective of how beautiful and fine she is. You lay down with her, don't really have much to do with her, don't care about her much, but then wind up with a child and she dies.
Oh, man.
Most people don't think about that when in the club, sipping on a drink.
No, they don't.
Looking at how fine people are, right? Blowing some loud or whatever you blowing and sipping on lean, you out of your mind. Out of your mind. But this is sometimes where that type of a night and those type of thoughts wind up for people. It's happening at a higher rate. It's continuing to increase.
Man, great perspective. Didn't think about it that way, but it's definitely something to think about. Golly. Okay, let's try to finish the vid.
Say the hospital took plans of corrective action, including multiple incidents of staff counseling and re-education, random cleanliness tests, and, in at least one case, employee suspension and termination. In a statement, the attorney for Valentine's attending physician, Dr. Gwen Allen, said Dr. Allen is prohibited by federal law from publicly commenting about her treatment of Miss Valentine. Dr. Allen did not cause Miss Valentine's death. In a statement to NBC, Centinela Hospital Medical Center said, in part, the center disputes the allegations made against the hospital and is dedicated to delivering compassionate, quality care to all patients. The center denies allegations of systemic racism, noting that their healthcare team reflects the varied ethnic and racial makeup of the community, adding that the hospital has been recognized as a top national facility. Centinela says they're closing their maternal ward due to an exponential decrease in demand for maternal health services. Though the ward will soon be gone, Valentine's family says their fight to preserve her legacy is only just beginning.
When she gets older, what are you going to tell her about?
Her mom, I'm going to tell her her mom was an amazing woman with a great personality.
And Zinkley Asamoah joins us now for more on her reporting. Zinkley, this story is heartbreaking. When it comes to stories around Black maternal health, this is not an anomaly, right?
Gotti, that is 100% right. We know in the United States, the reality is Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause. That's compared to white women. And medical experts have rightly pointed out this is not some predisposition we have, right? Much of it stems from medical implicit bias and systemic lack of resources to this specific community. Now, California, where you are, is unique in that its maternal death rates are among the lowest in the country. Actually, you can see it there on your screen, but even still, for Black women in California, just like April Valentine, that rate of maternal death is more than 3 times higher compared to white women still. And so.
Okay, brief pause. I wish I would have paused it before this orange bar came up on the screen, but I could probably find this chart somewhere else. Okay, so she said that we're dying because of pregnancy-related causes.
Bias.
Is that what she meant to say?
She said bias first, so I think she kind of got it mixed up in words, but she was talking about the bias and the racism in the system.
Okay, yeah, that's why
I notice how strong she said in America.
Yeah.
Right? You typically don't hear Black people from America speak that strong, but look at her name. She's not from here. She's from a country where she didn't see this kind of crap happen to her people. So that's another thing that, like we were talking about before,
April Valentine.
The things that we can hear as people that are in this field, there's sometimes things that we can hear that other people don't really tap into. She was very adamantly making a point about America, and her name, if I recognize it correctly, she might be Nigerian, but she for sure it's not a thing that she saw in her country.
Let me go back really quick. Hold on one second. Maybe like here. Nope.
See that name?
The name, yeah, that's true. Okay, let me hear.
In the United States, the reality is Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause. That's compared to white women. And medical experts have rightly pointed out this is not some predisposition we have, right? Much of it stems from medical implicit bias and systemic lack of resources to this specific community. Now, California, where you are, is unique in that its maternal death rates are among the lowest in the country. Actually, you can see it there on your screen. But even still, for Black women in California, just like April Valentine, that rate of maternal death is more than 3 times higher compared to white women still. And so Valentine's family tells me they are devastated that she became one of those statistics, but they are hoping for what they're saying, #justice for April Valentine. And to them, this lawsuit filed today is just the first step of many. And notably, the state of California also issued that hospital, Centinela, a $75,000 fine earlier this year. So this is just the beginning of this story. They cited an unidentified maternal death and hospital administrative penalties. So a lot to follow here, but clearly every life matters, including April's. Gotti.
Such an important story. Zincle, thanks so much.
Wow.
So my daughter.
Sad reality.
Okay. What'd you say?
I said it's a sad reality. I mean, it breaks my heart. Like every time I hear a story, it's just, it angers me. It breaks my heart. I don't know. You know, I think I've used just about every analogy I can, but it's like walking outside and just taking a deep breath of air. You know what I mean? You've been in your house working all day and you just go outside and take a deep breath. It'd be like choking to death and something like that. Things that are supposed to be so normal and so easy and so typical for us. Our women are dying. And I don't know if you all took a look at that chart really quickly, but at the bottom was Arkansas and Mississippi.
I saw that.
Right. So California is 10 times worse than white women. In Arkansas and Mississippi is 40 times worse. So we're talking about the places in this country that we've always been treated like a half a person or a third of a person. It's not it's no way that it's not directly tied to the thought processes that are going on in the people that are taking care of these Black women. It's actually the thought that comes to my mind just now, see if I have one biological son. And if he is killed by the police, Brother Akili doesn't plan on letting it come to a trial. And I think that it might take something like that. You know, I mean, it might be a husband or a boyfriend that goes up in the hospital and puts a few people. I'm not wishing that on anybody. I'm not saying I want that to happen, but there has to be a sense of justice that Black people have to go understand, that we have to go get it for ourselves. There's only 2 answers to this question. The first answer is we have to find a way to do it ourselves, which is why we talk. And that's what our plan is. The other is to go and exact justice for somebody that treated your wife like crap, right? Because this brother is actually very blessed because he could have lost his partner, could have lost a partner and a child.
Yes.
Right.
I noticed
this
that
woman died and they went and did an emergency C-section as she was dying or dead. Most children don't make it out of that situation.
Wow. That was a lot. I forgot to mention that too. She died first.
Yes.
And they were able to save the baby. You got like what, 7 minutes or something like that, right? Or less?
Most of the time, less. 7 minutes is in the optimal situation where she died, but her heart was still beating. So there was still some fresh blood going into that baby while they're getting prepared, right? Don't sound like that's what's happening to her because she was having breathing problems. When she went into cardiac arrest, I say that. With a breathing problem, usually people go into cardiac arrest, meaning their heart just stops because all the electricity that's going through the heart stops because of the oxygen lack, right? So more than likely she arrested And then they were like, okay, we lost her. We're trying to revive her, but there's a baby in here, right?
Yeah.
So that child, imagine the psychology of a baby whose brain still has to mature, of course, still has to grow, but there is a memory of losing what I was inside of.
Yeah.
That child is traumatized and has to go through many, many, many things to even be anywhere close to normal. So, to some degree, that child was murdered by the same people because of their lack of concern for their woman. We potentially could put murder on them. So how are we supposed to respond to that as a Black man looking at my dead girlfriend, wife, partner, whatever you want to call her, and then, like I say, blessingly, he has a child to take care of.
Yeah.
But this is getting ridiculous, and we have to have a response. I wouldn't be surprised if I see in the future Black men going up into a hospital. Hell, they're killing each other out on the street out of ignorance. Going up in a hospital and killing somebody because your girlfriend or wife died it would make more sense to me than the senseless killing we see on the streets.
It would make more sense to me too. And you know what, you said something earlier about like comparing it to like when you're driving and you see a car crash and everybody gotta watch and look and all that stuff. I think that is similar for this because it's good to be aware of what is actually going on. Like if we keep going into these hospital buildings in ignorance, like you're in more of a danger than anybody else. So with this situation, man, when she pulled up the chart, I should have paused it right there too. But she brought up the different states and the mortality rate is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And why is it the southern states that always have it the worst? I actually pulled up something, but before I show you, let me see. Shebe had a question. She said, what are long-term implications of a baby being born in those circumstances?
Well, what I learned in my experience in the Church of Scientology is that some of the initial engrams, or I shouldn't say that, the initial engrams occur in utero with a mother. If she bumps herself, if she's in any type of traumatic event, that affects that baby. And then the emotions that come from this type of reaction, I know personally is real. Why? Because I've gone back into my mother's womb in my own auditing session and witnessed the emotions. Of course, I can't see, right? But I'm tapped into my mother in a conversation with my father, and the things that he was saying or what he was doing that was causing her to react the way she was reacting was going in me. And one of those things, one of my negative attributes, I'll call it, that I got from that experience is insecurity. Right? Most people that know me, most people that interact with me, there's no way you could be insecure. Hell, I got insecurities. And in that auditing session, it went from me being in utero and then some other experiences that I had that is the foundation of my insecurities. So, I mean, imagine, my mother's having a conversation with my dad and she's being insecure because of something that he's doing or he's saying. But can you imagine a child being in utero and your mama died?
Wow.
The neglect all of that is going in her. Can you imagine what this baby's mother was thinking as she was becoming harder and harder for her to breathe? What was going on in her head?
Fighting for her life.
Right? All the affirmations that she put on the wall. She went into the pregnancy with some things that's going to make her child insecure because she was insecure. But now you're in the hospital. You're starting to have problems. Ain't nobody calling the damn doctor. You're waiting there for hours. Your breathing is getting worse. Your legs are swelling up. And now you get to a place where you're like, oh, damn, am I going to live? And that's going into that child. That child is going to have a rough time.
Yeah.
And if that child doesn't get help, people are not going to be able to handle that child. That child's going to come out with some serious anger issues, right? And a lot of times we don't understand. I'm talking to Black people now. We don't understand. A lot of times when we start running our mouth about what these young Black men and Black women are doing out here, shooting at each other and all that kind of stuff, what responsibility do you have as a mother and a father What responsibility do we have as Black people that don't go into communities and look out for our less fortunate? So we need to shut up sometimes with all our criticism and critique of people who you never have tried to go stand 10 toes down where they stand. You've never tried to sit and talk to them and try to understand where they come from. And so I'm saying that because the dynamic of what we're talking about is huge. This percentage that we're seeing, especially in these southern states, we have children, young Black children that are walking around, have no idea what to do with what's going on in between their ears.
Yeah.
No clue. And that's why some of them pop off like they do. And that's why some of them are so damn cold that they'll shoot another person in the face because you said something about my girlfriend or you looked at my girlfriend's booty. And you killing somebody for that? Well, you don't even understand, and you won't even try to understand why would somebody that young be so angry? There's a lot for us to learn, but there's a lot for us to try to slow down and understand that it's going to take the unity of us, right? These type of problems will only be solved with our unity. Nobody else gives a damn about doing anything except extracting from us.
Wow. Okay, you brought up the southern states again. Let's look at this wonderful map that the CDC gave us. This is the cesarean delivery rate by state. The lowest rate is in white. So we got a couple of states
where mostly white people live. South Dakota, yes. Utah, and Idaho.
Yes. And it's also still a high rate. 21%.
Yeah, you're right.
That's still a really high rate. So, okay, then we got Florida. I knew Florida and Louisiana was the worst. Mississippi is on here. We saw Arkansas on that video. And I really just want to show when they break this stuff down. Oh, dang. Okay, so for Florida, for example, key health indicators. I thought this was so funny when I saw this. For the C-section rate, the divorce rate is on here. The marriage rate. Okay, I guess they're just listing stuff because I'm like, what would this have to do with the C-section rate? Why would they bring this up too?
Well, I think it has to do a lot with the stressful emotions that a lot of women are in circumstances, right? So literally, I think a lot of health statistics are worse in divorced people, right?
Yeah.
People that are going through traumatic events or loss of job, loss of family member, so those traumatic events a lot of times have very negative consequences on a pregnant woman.
Yeah. Well, besides that, I think that being knowledgeable about these things, what state are you living in? What is my C-section rate? Going to the doctor, and I always talk about this, interviewing your provider to ask them, what is your C-section rate? What is your episiotomy rate?
Yes.
What would you do for a breech baby? You need to start asking all these questions and gathering all this information because, again, whose responsibility is it really? Is it the doctor that you see for 15 minutes a month? Is it the nurses that whoever's on call that night or that you might get that you never even met before? Whose responsibility is this really?
It's amazing. When you trust in God, he shows you so many things from so many different angles. He allows you to put so many things in your mind that galvanizes thoughts and galvanizes situations like this when we're really passionate about what we're talking about. I was watching a interview today with Marshawn Lynch and Shannon Sharp. Marshawn Lynch happens to be one of my favorite football players. He doesn't play anymore, and I don't really watch football anymore, but I always liked him because he never allowed the socialism of NFL to make him something that he wasn't. He was always giving back in every community that I've ever heard that he lived, right? And he's originally from Oakland, California. But he talked about when he first got drafted into the NFL, he got drafted to the Buffalo Bills. And as soon as he got finished being drafted, signed his contract, got his big signing bonus check and all that kind of stuff, whoever he was hanging out with wanted to go out. And it had to be some white folks. So they took him to this place. And he walked in. He said the first thing that he saw was a Confederate flag. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever saw a Confederate flag coming out of California was when I came to Texas. But the point is that he went into the place and he asked the bartender for some Hennessy. And the bartender said, "You want what?" He said, "I want Hennessy." He said, "We don't have Hennessy." He said, "I'm looking at it. It's right there at the wall." The man said, "No, we don't have Hennessy for you." And then it clicked at him. He was like, oh, this is I ain't supposed to be here. So he got up and walked and went to someplace in the Black community. My point is this, that at what point do we have to be slapped in the face with the atrocious statistics to say you ain't welcome here? Yeah. Right. And then again, this can be a very muddy reality, because I'm for sure that the majority of physicians that I know would not agree with what I said earlier today about just because your skin is black, when that Black woman comes around the door, you start thinking negatively. I know it's true. And I can prove it with damn near every single one of them. Because for you to stay in the system as long as you have, it's got to be true. The system makes doctors who they are. You ain't going into a hospital and staying pro-Black. Not from the perspective of practicing medicine. That might be what you do outside the hospital. But in that hospital, you look at people with sickle cell wrong. You look at fat women wrong. You look at Black people in general wrong. And it's a part of the medicine. And
Are you saying it's not possible, though?
Huh?
You saying it's not possible? Like if you were already pro-Black before and you're going in with an agenda to,
take care of my people?
Yes.
You looking at that man. You looking at that man.
Sir, you told me you wanted to vaccinate everybody.
That's my point. I was ignorant to what the purpose of the vaccine program was. So these people in a pro-Black man, I was the most pro-Black person I knew at my college. I was definitely the most pro-Black person I knew at my medical school. But these people still got me. So that's my point. So all these people that used to look at me strange, like everything is about Black to you. God damn, show me something that ain't about Black, since you want to down me for trying to stand up for my people. So that was my perspective in school, is my point. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if they weren't pro-Black then, and now they're physicians and they've been in this system for many, many years, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that people, Black people that are in the hospital with sickle cell disease, white people have made us think that Black people with sickle cell disease are drug seekers. I'm telling you what they put in my head. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the things I'm saying about a large Black woman coming into the L&D, I'm telling you what Black doctors think. They automatically go somewhere negative. You can't do your best when you think something negative about something. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we're talking about a system. And unless Black people can start looking at these statistics and say the system, just like Marshawn Lynch went to that set place and saw that Confederate flag and couldn't even get something to drink. It's we're talking about a different subject matter, but it's the same reality. You walk into that mall, and I mean, especially like, let's think about Arkansas and Mississippi. If you are a Black woman in one of them states, you probably know somebody that died in a hospital.
Yeah.
You probably know somebody who lost a child. So you're automatically going in there high anxiety.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
And even going back to her affirmations, I remember making affirmations for some of my moms, and it was like, my body can do this. And what's some other ones? Like, I trust my body. I'm ready to see my baby. Some stuff like that. Hers were like, I'm going to make it out alive. Like, that tells me a lot. She was like, one of them was like, I will have a vaginal birth. So it's like, okay, you must already know a lot of people that have had cesareans. you must already know someone who has lost their life trying to give birth. Wow.
Or somebody was in their ear about it, right?
Yeah.
But even the one that you said, I have to give an affirmation to say that my body can do this.
Yeah.
That is a glaring admittance that I'm not connected to the God that made my body to do this.
Yeah.
And that's why I used a crazy example, right? Because none of us on this program that have children taught your child to crawl. You didn't teach your child to walk. That's how natural it is. It is a natural phenomenon, right? So here it is. You've been crawling since you you've been walking since you decided to walk.
Yeah.
And that's why I use that as an example. Can you imagine any of us on this program? You get up from where you're sitting right now, you walk outside, and you have to say affirmations to yourself. Let me walk and not trip. Let me walk and not fall.
No.
Let me walk and not run into something. Let me walk and not twist my ankle in this pothole. We've been walking all of our lives.
Or
and
even
that would sound
breastfeeding.
crazy to somebody to say that. But
Yeah.
that's how far we've been detached and removed from the normalcy of having a baby in America, right? There ain't no statistics like this in no other countries. But in America, same place we were destroyed in.
And even breastfeeding, we be seeing them babies doing that
Yes.
less than an hour old. Nobody's teaching them.
Yes.
We put them near it, and it's over with. They don't need any affirmations on getting their milk out at all.
Not one.
None.
And I didn't say that to knock what you were doing, my sister. I understand,
No, I know.
right? We're talking about we're in a state of emergency.
Yeah.
In this situation. So,
and honestly, the way I look at it now is that we've given away our control so much.
Yes.
That we're trying to find ways to bring it back. That's really what affirmations are, because really all of this is yours, but you're trying to find ways to bring your belief back about what's yours. So we give the control away so much because our doctors are going to deliver the baby. I think we talked about that before. Just like, what? No, you have to birth your baby. And I love now working with home birth midwives that tell their moms during prenatals, like, well, there's really not much for us to do once you go into labor. We're just going to make sure you're all right. The birthing part is on you. We're giving you the responsibility, and not just with the birthing part, with your health, with doing more research. There's a lot of times where I'm in prenatals where it's like a classroom. It's not like, okay, we're just checking some stuff off and send you on your way.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you tell me what showed up in my urine when you checked it? And what does that mean? And what can I do to improve what you saw and things like that? Like, why wouldn't you tell me that? Oh, because they've taken control over your health.
Yes. Let me tell you how real what you're saying is.
Tell me.
Saturday, a brother came to my house. He had a pregnant dog. They had been to the vet, I think either that morning or the day before. And the vet told them that the dog was probably going to deliver these dogs in a week. Dog gets out the car, starts like really just the dog was acting strange. And I said, that dog about to have them babies. Y'all better figure out where you're going to do it, because that dog's not coming in my house. I don't give a damn what the hell is going on. That's going to happen outside. I don't let people bring animals not even in my garage. But that dog dropped one of them babies about 20 seconds after I said it.
Oh my God.
At the end of about 3 or 4 hours, that dog had 9 puppies.
Wow.
No complications. That dog had those babies. It's so natural. Was it probably pain-free? No, I could tell the dog was in some pain.
Yeah.
Right? But that dog had 9 babies, and what nobody around there talking about no dog mortality or puppy mortality. You see what I'm saying? So my point is, I know that's a crazy analogy, but that's the way Black women should be thinking. Hell, how can a dog do it that easy and I can't?
Yes, that's so true. With all
9
the books that you got.
9.
Wow.
This is the last time I saw the dog. It was still a little puppy. So we're talking about a first time young dog giving birth to 9 puppies.
Wow.
We literally can sit and watch a dog give birth, and then a black woman shows up, and oh my God, what's going to happen? That is a crazy place that we have been put in.
Now, the last thing I want to show you really quick, Dr. Akili, is something that we already talked about. This OBGYN that people are talking about. I actually saw him, saw his name in a Facebook group that I'm in, and then I went to TikTok to go look it up. His page is already deleted, so I couldn't really find much, but people like talking about him. That's really all I could find. But his name is, I don't even care to say his name. He has like a home birth program or whatever. So obviously, like he's gonna promote himself and trying to make some money. But the point is, he's an OBGYN that is kind of disrupting the system a little bit. So I want to play this video, and then we can kind of close out our thoughts on this too. Let me see, where is it? Okay, I don't know how to start it over. Let me see if I refresh, will it leave me?
Our medical industrial complex is not the problem, nor are doctors that are not willing to see the truth. I want to try to dispel that. There's nothing special about me. The medical industrial complex is answering the call of people who are perhaps not comfortable with the idea that they have so much power in making decisions for themselves. What feels right is never a question your doctor asks you. Our medical industrial complex.
It was that quick. It was that quick. And you want to know my favorite part about that clip? He said people that don't know how much power, and I feel like he's trying to say it in a nice way, but like that's your body. Yes. Like we can only do so much. You have the power to have a healthy life, to push your baby out the way you want to do all of these things, but we give over our power as soon as we sign on this paperwork and walk into their building. And that was one of the biggest things that I just took away from that. Besides all of the stuff that he's been saying about, things being preventable and gestational diabetes. He has a lot of stuff that he's talking about on that. And I just think that was my biggest takeaway from all of the little clips that I see about him, is that whose responsibility is it at the end of the day? That's it.
I think that's an important question, right? Each person has to delve into it themselves, because I personally think that if we were able to poll all races, all ethnicities of people in America, we probably would have 60 to 70% of people say that it's the doctor or the nurse or some type of healthcare practitioner, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, that's exactly what the Rockefellers wanted when they took over the system. That's exactly what their mentality was. No different than what we watched during the pandemic with this Fauci juice, right? They wanted people to believe, the majority of the people to believe. They wanted all of us, but they knew they weren't going to get all of us, but they want the majority of the people to believe that they were not going to make it out of a pandemic unless they took that Fauci juice. Yeah. Right? And so at the end of the day, when you're able to convince people of things like that, the first thing that you've already accomplished is you've taken God out of their life, because people don't even use that as a measurement anymore. Right? And that's why I keep talking about it like I talk about it. If you are a Black woman, you are in a lineage that have been giving birth longer than anybody else on the planet Earth. How did you come to a place where you need affirmations? But then the second aspect of that is, and let's stay specific with Miss Valentine, how did you get that big? Because she was overweight, right? Yeah. All of her pictures, she was overweight. Now, I'm not knocking her. I agree with her husband, her partner, whatever it was. She's a beautiful woman. But at the end of the day, do you, as Miss Valentine, 31-year-old woman, with whatever your experiences were that made you have to go and write these affirmations. Did you not know that being overweight increased your chances of having complications? Did you know that being overweight gives you the propensity of having gestational diabetes, eclampsia, eclampsia, blood clots, complications with C-sections, with normal delivery? Giving birth is not as difficult as people say it is.
Yeah.
The body has all the capabilities of doing it. Now, it's not supposed to feel good, right? And that's the other thing that I see. I see a lot of conversations going on social media where women are talking about, yeah, I wanted everything to be natural, but I just don't want to deal with that pain. That is not even congruence. There's nothing in life that you're going to gain without pain. Everything is painful if you're trying to accomplish something. There's a painful aspect to every accomplishment. You see what I'm saying? So somebody has disconnected us from God. Like I say, if every woman that's pregnant right now would look at that dog at my house on Saturday, they would have to say, man, that dog just had 9 babies. That dog obviously was a little bit discomfort, but in comparison, what a great experience, right? To be able to deliver my baby with some pain. And every mother that I know of, she doesn't even consider the pain. She doesn't even consider the difficulty factor when she sees that baby. It's gone,
all out the window.
Not even a consideration anymore until she starts talking with maybe some other her girlfriends after they start comparing stuff, right? But that whole experience of the pain is gone as soon as you see that baby. And sometimes it's when you see a part of that baby. You still pushing, but the pain, you're not even concentrating on it anymore. So you're not even in pain. So we're talking about a reality that God has been removed from our lives. We don't take God in consideration with the food that we eat, the exercise we do, the amount of sun that we need to get, the amount of water that we drink, right? Because there are plenty of examples out here for us to do what? Study what God's reality is. What animal do you know of that would drink some Gatorade or some Kool-Aid or some soda, right? But we come up in these households where Kool-Aid is normal.
Kool-Aid is normal.
God, right? Most young men that play sports, Gatorade is their go-to drink when they so-called are hydrating. But yet most of them, if you watch them, they're dehydrated. Disconnected from God. Right? We start making decisions as young people because the influences that we have in our life, mama, daddy, grandpa, grandma, uncle, auntie, they were disconnected from God. So you've been raised and trained and conditioned to give up your thought process to whatever is common and whatever everybody else does, and then go fit inside that box. And you were made an octagon, square box, and you are octagon. I mean, that's really why we're in the condition that we're in, because we have been disconnected from God. We have not taken the time to remove our emotions and evaluate what has happened to Black people in America, right? And I will keep pushing this point. I know I say it a lot, and I'm not going to stop saying it until Black people get it. Why was that African woman so adamant in saying in America? As an African woman, because she knows nothing about that in her land. And yet we will say that Africa is way behind us from technology.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hell, they got us, they have less technology, but they damn sure ain't dying, giving birth a natural process like we are. And so what is it about America that would have Black women so high on a death rate? What else could it be? Until we logically, not emotionally, but logically and scientifically evaluate that question, we're going to continue to be in trouble. And so again, solutions, we either have to get our own, or men are going to have to go in a hospital and exact revenge on the people that treated his wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever they call them, if you go and you treat the people that did your woman wrong, and you treat them appropriately so they come up with the same outcome that she did, it'll change. I bet you that.
Yeah.
It won't have to happen but a couple of times.
For a second, I was thinking about that too while we were watching the video, and I was like, okay, you know, I know I personally don't like the whole protesting thing, but okay, awareness. And then the other thing was the lawsuit, and I was thinking that, okay, it doesn't do anything at all for the family to gain X amount of money. But I guess, is it making a statement on the hospital, because we know that's what they care about, money? So is it, if it hurts their pockets, then do we get a response? But honestly, I don't think that that it's doing that, because plenty of people have gotten settlements and it's still going on. So I always say that about whooping children. I know this is totally off topic, but I'm like, if you got to do it so many times, it must not be working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Oh man. But okay.
But you know, at the end of the day, we're talking about the same subject though, right? Disconnection from God. Because if you are a people that have gone through so many things in this country, how far back can you go back and study protesting?
Yes.
Longer than any of us have been alive. When has it worked? When has it done anything for us? The only reality that Black people have in America that makes sense is that after slavery, we departed from white people and we went and built 60 Black towns in the South and were flourishing. Life expectancy went up. Death rates went down. I'm talking about from getting killed by white folks. Everything got better for us. That is the only example that any Black person, if they scientifically evaluate our reality in America and remove their emotions, the only thing that works is separation. So you can go out and you can protest as Black Lives Matter, all Black Lives Matter, Black gay life matter, Black LGBT. I don't give a damn what you go out and you protest about. You will get nothing but appeasement from the people that you're protesting to, because ain't nobody ever going to give you freedom, justice, or equality. You as a Black person going to have to make that happen. Regardless of the circumstances and regardless of who, you have to move out of your way to get it. That's the only mentality that's going to get us what it is that we deserve. Reconnect with God and then go do things like we believe in God. Right now, Black people are proving that believing in God ain't even part of the subject matter anymore. No. I don't give a damn how much you say Jesus, Allah, Yahweh. I don't give a damn what you say out your mouth. Your existence, your reality proves that you have a disconnect. So at the end of the day, I can only give credit to Allah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I can't sit here and talk like I'm talking and not give the credit where it is due. I would have been, I don't think near as bad, but I would have been one of those physicians that people would be able to talk about was in the system. Because I was a 21-year-old young man when I walked into medical school in Nashville, Tennessee. My whole soul, I wanted to be a doctor to help Black people. But they took that fervor, they took that energy, they took that excitement and made me into what they wanted me to do at a Black school.
Oh,
so when I left Nashville, Tennessee and went down to Houston, I was pro-Black. But as a physician, when I went back and checked my mind, they made me a white man to a certain degree.
Ouch.
So this Black man is strong in the community and he's pro-Black and he's teaching his children all these things to make them feel good about themselves, but he practices medicine like how we made him to practice medicine. And there ain't no other damn Black doctor in this country, male, female, or anything else they might claim, that is any different. And I know it for sure because I lived it. Now, if you a Black person in a school that mostly white people around, you even worse because you don't have the ability to overcome the system. We haven't. I just gave the proof. Black people have never protested in a system and changed the system. If anybody knows of anything different, give me an example.
Yeah, please send that information to both of us. I would like to see it myself. And I would say that I bear witness to that too, because I've had to check myself, and I'm not even that far in as Dr. Akili is and was, but I've had to check myself several times. Like, hey, like, where is this information or these thoughts coming from, Taylor? Like, come on, let's snap back into it. So yeah, and I've seen several classmates, or I won't say several, a couple classmates adopt these ways of thinking too, just based off of being what classroom you're in. So that's really important. Wow. So
it's a hard reality though, you know. It's not easy to face that, admit it, and then start the process of change. But that's what every so-called Black educated person in America needs to do. I hear a lot of Black people, man, I went to Clemson University and I have a Black history degree. I promise you, you can get a better degree than what you got in the damn library. These days, probably online, but more importantly, a bookstore. Hell, you go in and let these people tell you what Black history is. That's got to be the craziest.
Man.
And in all honesty, that's why these people that go to these white institutions and get Black history degrees, they don't ever talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't talk about Minister Farrakhan. They don't talk about Marcus Garvey. They don't talk about Denmark Vesey. They don't talk about the real Black revolutionaries, Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner. No, they're going to talk about the regular old ones that make you homogenize into their society.
You're going to get Martin Luther King and the watered down Malcolm X, and that's it.
Absolutely.
Keep them right there.
And they're going to tell you that we killed him. The Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I know I don't believe we went off the subject because I think I am trying to make the point and enforce the point, or I should say, magnify the point that I don't really care what your doctor calls themselves. I'm a Black physician. I'm an African-American physician. I'm whatever. And even these Black people that come from other countries, some of these Black people that come from the Caribbean or they come from the motherland, if you are a Black physician in America and you fit in the system and you're in an NMA and you get along with everybody and you are board certified and I'm licensed in this state and all that kind of stuff, you are in the system.
Yeah.
Might not believe it, but it's definitely verifiable, right? Because I actually don't hear a lot of Black physicians in an uproar like we are about this subject matter. So how pro-Black can you be? How much can you love your people when you won't even stand up when you know there are atrocities going on in those facilities where you learned, the facilities where you work, but you won't stand up? I'm going to say it publicly because I've said it before. Doctors are some of the most cowardly people I've ever known in my life. They are the people that didn't stand up in college. They didn't stand up in medical school. They didn't stand up in their residency program, and they ain't standing up in the places that they work because they're afraid to lose whatever little bit they so-called have. Your nice house, your nice car, the side of town you live in. Continue to enjoy it. But you have no peace. I promise you that. I know these people, y'all. A lot of your doctors are going home every night and they got to drink themselves to sleep, pop pills to go to sleep, popping pills to take care of their medical problems. They're not at peace at all. And I know it firsthand.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to put anybody down. This is not an attack on my brothers and sisters that are doctors. I love y'all. That's why I talk like this. If I didn't give a damn about you, I wouldn't even mention it. I'm mentioning these things because if any Black physician hears my voice, check yourself before you start getting emotionally upset at me, like everybody that I know personally to do when we meet and we talk in public. I'm talking about amongst each other. They can't defeat any argument that I pose. And I'm not trying to blast anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody on Front Street. I am trying to help be a part of the solution to watching Black women die and wind up on the damn news. And there's a man that either has to take care of baby by himself or he loses both of you all. When are you going to start looking at why this is happening? When are you going to start looking at why these certain medications come out and they're supposedly for black people. And then years later, we find out that these same medications are causing them to die, causing them certain medical problems. And y'all ain't saying nothing. Nothing. Just go along to get along. Don't make you bad people. But at some point, you have to get the hell up out. No, I can't be mad at a person that was made that way by this society. I can't be mad at somebody who was raised by black parents, grandparents, uncles, and aunts that want to do that whole go along to get along idea, especially black people that I know from down here in the South. I can't be mad at them. I have to look at myself as being blessed that I'm not in that mud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what my point is, that I'm not knocking anybody. I talk strong and I will not close my mouth. And so if you're offended by what I say, why don't you attempt to consider to not respond to what I'm saying emotionally, but me and you, let's have a conversation one-on-one. We can do it online. We can do it in social media. I don't care how we do it, but let's look at the statistics. Let's look at the mathematics of these problems and let's address it and see if you can defeat anything I've said today. Because the same thing I say, like, either we got to get our own or somebody's got to go up in the hospital and get retribution. It's going to be the same thing for all you black physicians. If we don't look at our black people's health conditions and start doing something different, you either are going to get moved out the way or the new system is going to crush you. It's your options.
Man, it's already crushing us, to be honest. Okay. So, Dr. Akili.
Yes, ma'am.
It has been a great time with you, as always.
Praise the God we serve. I sure appreciate the platform.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you making time to come on here. I know you're the busiest man in the world. Thank you so much. I want you to, close us out, like plug what you got going on right now, if you can. And I know I have your Instagram pulled up. So if you guys need good information from a reliable source, I would 100% recommend Dr. Akili.
Well, thank you, my sister. I pray that that is my reality, right? That no matter who reaches out to me, that they are confident and assured that they are getting the empowering information that can help take their life in a different direction. You know, when I look at my social media and I look at the things that I've been posting for years, it's out of sincerity. It's out of a desire to help people understand. So the only plug I have, brothers and sisters, is come follow me on blackstream.live. It's not free, but I think it's worth it. Subject matter that I continue to discuss, the type of shows and the type of guests that I continue to have. It's always to try to present a perspective that will help you come out of the show better than you were. Like this Tuesday, we did a show on gemstones. I don't know how many people know about gemstones. I have one right there on my arm, but the system makes gemstones to help people's mental health, physical health, psychological, all that, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. My mind is focused and dedicated to a healing center because I want to help people in a way that they don't get help. And what I mean by that is when I open my healing center, you will be able to come away from your environment and it will be a disciplined, restrictive place. It's not going to be an easy place, but it will show you what having good health takes. Because as I always in my show, anytime you hear me talk, you always find out and you increase the agreement that in the society that we live now, good health takes hard work. And so that's the purpose of the healing center that I want to be a part of, producing with other like-minded people. We're going to produce a place that is going to give people the ability to come, learn, grow. And then when you leave and go back, you are not the same person. And if you keep the principles and the lessons that you learn, you will forever be continuing to grow in the better you. And that's how we'll change the world. So that's my plan. God say the same. It will happen. It's just on his terms and his time at this point. So thank you, my sister. I appreciate always having shows with you. You always bring some stuff out of me. I sometimes didn't even know what was in there. I didn't even know I had the energy for it, but praise to God that he's given me the type of experiences that I can use to tap in with my people, because that's more important than any familiarity, any popularity. Like I said earlier, none of that matters, right? You look at my page, I don't have millions of views on none of my stuff, but everything on my pages, I believe, can assist in helping your life. And that's what is meaningful to me, that everybody today heard something that makes you understand this situation that our women are going through better, and hopefully to help you want to be part of the solution, even if it's just counseling younger women before they get pregnant. That's a huge part of our job.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, thank you
let
so much.
me say this before I get off. I want to say this in front of everybody. There probably are some people that probably are wondering, why do you do shows with Sister Taylor all the time? Why are y'all always doing shows together? Because there is something that I've seen in my experience, something that I know God put in me that can't be measured, that can't be typically seen or understood by other people. I know a lot of midwives. I know a few doulas. And I think many of them are very good at what they do. Many of them understand the problems that we're having as a race of people, and many of them are doing some very wonderful things. But there's a different reality when you run into somebody and your spirits are very similar and your spirits are very aligned, and you don't have to work. I mean, every time we're together, we just kind of flow. That's a beauty. To me, that's proof that God brought us together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also her dedication. It's also her desire to do the best for her people and not to be average, not to be run of the mill, and not to let anybody drag you into something that's not best for your people. And so that's why. That would be my explanation. I'm proud of her to this point. She has a lot that she has to overcome because she's doing it as a mother, right? That's not easy. I watched the women when I was in medical school that had children, how difficult it was for them to keep up. So I know and I see what I see and I appreciate it. And so just the same way that you appreciate me, my sister, I appreciate you. And I know you're going to make a difference. And inshallah, it's going to be we together making a difference. It's always going to be a we, but I'm talking about in the same facility, making a difference for our people that is so apparent to our people that we're going to have many facilities all over this country and the world in order to help make people understand what it is that we think is most important. And that is, you have to be empowered to take care of yourself.
I appreciate you, Dr. Akili. I really do. I always use this emoji when I'm putting your name. My favorite doctor in the world. Okay. Listen, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We will be back soon, I'm pretty sure, because this is our thing. So
Yes, ma'am.
We'll talk soon. And thanks everybody for sticking around and asking questions and really just being interested in the conversation, because honestly, that's the first step and that means a lot. So yes. Peace to you, Dr. Akili. See you soon.
Peace, my sis. Yes, ma'am. Peace.